Welcome in, everybody, to Inside the Burrow. After a week of reflection, prayer, and much needed time off, we are back here on the FAU Owl's Nest flagship podcast, Inside the Burrow. Robbie, Lastella, Kevin Fielder. Kevin, welcome back. How's it going?
Again, like we were kind of talking about before we started this show, if you had asked me that a week ago and we had actually recorded a week ago, the answer would have been much different. Now I'm a week removed from that Chula Bowl game, so I don't feel as bad about it. I still don't feel great about it, but I'm excited to be talking about a different team than FIU for a week because I just need something to wash my mouth from that game, wash the stink off of that game, if we're being honest.
Yeah, we're not going to sit here and break that one down for you. Shout out to Ken Levica. He broke that one down on 10 a.m. Sunday morning after the game. We have done enough reflecting. Unfortunately, it did not go the way FAU wanted it to. In the first half, it still wasn't going great, but they had to lead. They had a chance to really end it. And if they score a touchdown before halftime there, I'm convinced they win that game, even if FIU comes out with their improved second half. But that killed anything FAU had. And then it was bully ball in the second half. Owens and the FIU, both sides of the line took over. So that was that. It was ugly, but you can't dwell on it too much. You know, I mean, it is what it is. Losses happen. You have to move forward, and you have to go with the mindset that they have made adjustments, because if they haven't made adjustments, there's something wrong. If they go out against Memphis and there's nearly 100 yards of penalties again, you're getting killer penalties. It's not like, first and 10, 5 yards, whatever. It's the end of the drive. You force them, holding them to a field goal, and you get late hit. It's you're going to get the ball back down 3 and you get a 20-yard penalty on the 20 yards of combined penalties on the same play. It's stuff like that. You can't compound that. And then in terms of the offense, the turnovers, obviously it's going to be an aggressive offense. But to have a turnover differential of, I believe, -8, and turning as it was 7 interceptions for Caden alone, I believe, that is not good. So I think if they can find a way to get those turnovers down, I'm still not out on the offense. I'm not, hitting that panic button yet. But it's going to be a tough opponent this week to figure that out against. Kevin, what's been going on with the offense in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the turnovers. I think they continually shoot themselves in the foot. They're unable to get into that momentum that this offense kind of needs to thrive on. And it's really difficult to play and have a functional offense if every 3 or 4 plays you're making a mistake that is preventable. And when I mean preventable mistakes, I mean pre-snap penalties, I mean interceptions, I mean sacks, the things that you can clean up. There are definitely things that you can't, right? Like, no offense is going to be 100% perfect. And expecting FAU's offense to be 100% perfect is unrealistic, is not fair to them. But the penalties, the red zone interceptions, the mistakes that can't be happening in week 4, week 3 of a season continually happen. And it's really difficult to get going when those things happen. You're putting yourself in a really difficult position. And I just think back to, and I don't want to say like Caden Velkamp lost them this game, because that certainly is not the case. But the red zone interception as the first half expired, when Velkamp was trying to hit, I believe, Mike Kirsch over the middle for sort of a seam-busting touchdown, it was open. If he throws it over the top of that overhang defender, that's open. That's a touchdown. Instead, it's an interception. And instead of going into half, I believe would have been up 10, up 2 scores, having a chance to really take advantage of this game, you give them the momentum. You give them everything they need to get back into this game. And then credit to FIU, they were incredibly well coached. They wanted that game more. I said to someone after the game, the better coached and the more motivated team won that football game. And that's not a shot at FAU. That's not a shot at Zach Kitley. That's a compliment to FIU, because they wanted to win that game. They did put everything into winning that game. And in that second half, they played a dang near perfect game. And when you give them an inch, they took a mile. And you just can't have that happen. It's like if that interception doesn't happen, I wonder if we're sitting here having a different conversation about how that game goes, because it's a completely different game if you're able to get 3, if you're able to get 7. Instead, you get away with 0. That's a major shift in a game, especially when you talk about winning the middle 8, which is the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the second half. You didn't win that. You lost that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big reason as to why you lose football games, and that's a big reason why FAU lost the game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were close. If they had scored right there before the half, I like I said, I feel like they would have came out with juice. But there's a lot of, it's interesting that ball to Mike Kirch, for example. I just want, the FAU hasn't gotten production out of the big wide receivers yet on the outside, J.R. Wilson, Quincy Brown, and I'm wondering how much that has impacted red zone. I'm not saying they're going to throw fades every time, but those are 2 big receivers that Kitley made clear before the season were going to be red zone guys. And, Kirch got here late. Is that a thing where, their communication was off a little bit? Maybe. So I am still interested, here. I've said this a couple of weeks now, but I want to see those guys get on the outside, get involved, because Assad has been on the outside a little bit, but at the end of the day, he's more of a slot guy, not an outside receiver. We need those big guys to go and do what they did. And, another thing there against FIU is the pressure. I mean, the first 2 games, the offensive line wasn't, world beaters, but they were formidable. And against FIU, every lineman except Fiacable gave up 2 pressures. And so, that can't happen. I mean, credit to FIU. I gave them a lot more credit before they went out and got abolished by Delaware. Because you can't compare. It's so tough to compare game to game, but that is, you heard before the season, Delaware's coach is talking about finding ways to match up to FBS level size. And meanwhile, they're pushing FIU around in the trenches, and FAU got pushed around in the trenches by FIU. So something in that game was off. And I don't think it's an issue of FAU has guys that can't compete in the American level, because if we see the effort they were giving good effort, just didn't go their way. And so, we need to see improvement drastically against Memphis here in this game, because FIU's run game is good, but Sutton Smith and Desrosiers are better than what FIU had, and their line, I don't know if they will perform as well as FIU's did, because they were performing well against FIU. Every block technique, they were moving in sync as one unit. If Memphis is able to do that, I'm interested to see how this game goes, because Memphis is going to run that ball. They've got some definite talented backs, and so there's some holes there on that on both sides of the line for FAU, on the offensive side and the defensive side, that really came out against FIU that I wasn't expecting. Kevin, I don't think we have a size and skill issue on our lines. Obviously we don't have Big Ten offensive line and defensive line here, but I feel like that matchup against FIU, they just found a way to beat our scheme. Is there a chance they can find a way to bounce back against Memphis on both sides of the line?
It was so interesting, because I went back and I tried to figure out a reason as to why that game happened, right? And was trying to figure out the reason, could I circle a reason or pinpoint a reason as to why things happen? And it really felt like everything that happened in that game was the no good, very bad, horrible day. Because it's one thing went wrong, and that one thing snowballed into 4 or 5 different things that went wrong. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Bengals-Vikings game, or even looked at the score of the Bengals-Vikings game from this past Sunday, where the Vikings won. I think it was 43-7 or some insane stat line that typically when you look at NFL scores, they're not like that. It's not like Oklahoma State playing Oregon. Shout out Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. But the Bengals got run off the field against the Vikings. And it's they didn't play particularly poorly. They certainly did not play a good enough game to win, but they didn't play a game that would be indicative of a 43-7 loss or whatever the final score was. But it's when one bad thing happens, right? There are certainly those games where that one bad thing snowballs into 3 or 4 bad things, right? You have one turnover and then you have to go back, you punt the ball, and suddenly okay, well, that's a 14-point swing. And now suddenly before you blinked, you're down 15 or whatever the case may be. It's like, that's kind of what the second half felt like for me. It's like, I don't think it was a talent issue. I think that they were trying to get back into that game effort wise, right? Like, I don't think they particularly checked out. I just think that they didn't have answers. And when you don't have answers, the other team that has all the momentum, that has the lead, right? They're going to take advantage of that. And I don't know how much of that's a thing that's going to keep happening, right? Like, I'm not sure if that's a major issue. If it happens again Saturday, that's a major issue. That's something you have to reevaluate. That's something you have to look at. If it's a one-time thing, it's just a one-time thing. I will say last week or 2 weeks ago, I think I said FIU might be the best running game they'll face this year. I was wrong. Memphis might be the best running team in the country right now. They are finding a ton of success on the ground. If you couldn't find gap integrity and take away rush lanes against FIU, you may have a very difficult time doing it against Memphis if you didn't clean some things up over the bye week, because it's a different size matchup. It's a different animal. They took Arkansas to the cleaners on the ground. They took an SEC team with SEC size and SEC skill to the cleaners. And man, if you're not ready, it could get ugly very fast. And that's my one warning, that if you think this game's going to be close, FAU's got to come out and play a damn near perfect game, because that Memphis team, what they've done this year on the ground with Sutton Smith, with Brandon Lewis, their quarterback, with effectively everyone on that team, if you give them an inch, they'll go take 100 yards. They'll go make this a game that you can't keep up with, because FAU, while they may not have super size across the offensive line or defensive line, they've got enough in the American. Memphis has power force size on both sides of the ball. And if you want to try and play with them, you got to be able to play with them in your game. And so Caden Veldkamp, like, everyone has got to be perfect, because you can't try and turn this into like a grind it out, you're going to win this game 23-15 kind of game. That's not going to be what this game is for FAU. This has got to be a game where you got to find explosives on offense, because this is one of the best rushing teams in the country, point blank period, by every advanced metric in the book. I think they're like number one in EPA, which is expected points added per play. They are incredible on that side of the ball. And if you give them the chance to run the ball all over you, they will run the ball all over you.
I wasn't able to make it over for Kitley's presser today, but I talked to Brett Dewhurst last week, and we kind of heard him a little bit using the bye week not only to prepare for Memphis, but also using it to prepare for Rice and Navy, because you mentioned gap assignments, gap integrity. This game is going to show that, but against the option, that's 1,010,000 times better. And honestly, I asked him, I'm like, does preparing for an option-based team kind of help you shore up those problems in the run? And he didn't get, like, you're shaking your head. He didn't say yes. It kind of sounded like he's got to prepare for an entirely different type of offense in the bye week, while also focusing on the Memphis, and then keeping that in the back of the mind that next week you have to go play an option team.
It's the weirdest offense in the book. And I say this, and something we'll talk about next week for sure, right? Like, it is the weirdest offense to play against, because nothing you prepared for is applicable to any other game on the schedule. Like, you can't copy and paste a playbook from that game. And like, when I was covering Kansas State, right, like, they were preparing, it was during spring camp, and I asked one of their defensive line coaches, I was like, are you guys preparing for Army now? Keep in mind, this is in March. This is far before the season even begins. And he goes, yeah, we've already spent a week preparing for them, because we have to spend a week preparing for them. They prepared for them, and they didn't even have an answer. It's like, if you think like you could just prepare for Memphis and their kind of traditional running game and then like be set for Rice, you can't be. Like, those are two completely different preparation styles. And so it's so weird for FAU right now, because they have to prepare for this rushing attack that is very traditional, but also very good, right? Because Memphis fans, they'll find this if I say anything otherwise, right? Like, they are an incredibly talented offense. They might be the best offense in Group of 5 football right now. They will run the ball traditionally, but they will run the ball incredibly well. After that, you get two opponents that are like not that, in Rice and Navy, where they try and take advantage of you in the numbers game. Memphis doesn't care if you have a numbers advantage, because they feel like they're stronger, better, and faster than you. it's such a completely interesting dichotomy in the American now, which is partly why I love the American. Because you have so many different play styles in this conference, right? You have the air raid, you have the traditional kind of spread offense, power run. Then you have 3 option teams that just do crazy stuff that work. And
Mm-hmm.
so, going back to Memphis, right? Like, if you think this is like a game where you can take whatever you prepared from Memphis and bring it over to the rest of the year, maybe after the Rice and Navy game, for sure. Before that, no. Like,
No.
those are 2 completely different game plans.
Memphis 38 carries for 313 yards, 8.2 yards per carry combined against Arkansas. And, you mentioned bigger, stronger, faster than you. The example of that was Brendan Lewis, their quarterback, who had 14 totes for 122 yards, 2 scores on the ground. His helmet comes off on the most important play of the game, right? If Arkansas stops them, they're going to get the ball back, and they might have a shot. They bring in the backup quarterback, Arrington Maiden, redshirt freshman, and he bulldozes up the middle, carries a 320-pound, probably more, he's probably 350 on his back, good 3-4 yards after contact for a first down. So they have effort. They have guys, a backup quarterback who can go and do that. Not to mention Greg DeShrozers and Sutton Smith combined for 21 carries for 179 yards and a score. So it's going to be a busy
They
day.
are 3 deep, 4 deep in the run game, and that includes their quarterback. The most difficult thing to prepare for in college football is a team that has a quarterback and knows how to use a quarterback in the running game. Because, you saw it last week against FIU, right? Like, when they were able to get Keon Jenkins to the outside and make him a viable threat in the running game.
Didn't go well.
It was not just the running game that opened up. It was some of that RPO screen action, some of that RPO dump off action, right? Like, there's so much more of that playbook that opened up because FAU couldn't stop the quarterback run. Yep. If you keep letting Brandon Lewis run against you, you open up everything else in that offense. They now get to take out that play sheet, and it feels like there's 3 or more sides to it that they can go to, because it's like, okay, well, if they can't take this away, then we can run this. Then we can run this off of that. It's like that's the one dynamic of this game that you have to be aware of. I know Sutton Smith is one of the better running backs in the country, one of the better running backs in the American. Almost said Conference USA for a minute, but it's not him. I think it's Lewis, because Lewis is also a dynamic running player, and if you give him the opportunity to, on those zone reads that they do on the design quarterback runs, and you don't take those away, it doesn't matter what you do to Sutton Smith. It doesn't matter what you do to anyone else, because then you open up the passing game, which kind of, again, like as we mentioned with FIU, hasn't been great for Memphis. It's been okay, but it hasn't been great. It has not been at the same level as their running game. That's the major thing, right? Is you got to find a way to make them one-dimensional, but one-dimensional in a way that they don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't. The run defense was the strength of FAU before you went into that FIU game. I was really high on it. Now I was really high on Dejon Barber, and I still am. I think that FIU game hopefully was a bit of a fluke. I hope they don't struggle as much as they did, because, as you mentioned, the pass side of things for Memphis hasn't been great. Passes 10 yards or longer. Brendan Lewis went 3 of 10 for 78 yards and an interception against Arkansas there. So when he had to try to stretch the field, when he got to those longer down situations, it wasn't the most prettiest. But on those passes 10 yards or shorter, he was really solid. And so, Got to find a way to stuff those runs on early down situations, and I'm interested to kind of see how they do that. Maybe bring some linebackers in there, try to stack the box a little bit. I don't know, see what they do. They had success last week with Kamari Johnson rushing the passer. He's not expected to have as much of a role this week with Leon Hart coming back. But still, got to maybe find a package for him where he's, bringing pressure.
Well, they have to find pass rush, period.
That as well.
That's been an issue all year, right? Like,
no production from the edges so far.
I mean, you got to find someone who can rush the passer and do it consistently, because it doesn't matter if you get to 3rd and 5. If you can't get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter what 3rd down it is.
Yeah. They had, I believe, just the 1 sack against FIU, less than 5 pressures. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but wasn't good pressure-wise. Most of those pressures came from Kamari Johnson, who had a great game in a reserve role coming in for the injured Leon Hart. So, they were able to get pressure bringing a linebacker, but their edges, their interior guys aren't able to bring as much pressure as they would like. And that's been the issue now at FAU for a couple years now. And, we talked to Dewhurst, talked to Kitley. They're finding ways they're going to try to find ways to scheme things up and get more pressure on the quarterback. But each opponent is different, because if you over pressure, Brendan Lewis might escape that and then run you up the sideline for 20. So I'm interested to see what they do to try to find a way to generate pressure. Because so far, I mean, even against FAMU, it's not like they were in the backfield every play. Wilkie was able to get home, but other than that, it was really marginal. So this is a game where if they're able to stop the run, number one, and if that's number one, if they struggle like they did against FIU, there is no chance. If they're able to stop the run, number two is when Lewis drops back to pass, got to find a way to get pressure on him. If they do those two things, I'm not saying FAU will win this game, but it will be competitive. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this game's like everyone else has been building this game. It's like FAU's got no chance. I'm aware that this is going to be one of the most difficult games on FAU's schedule, and it's not going to be a game where there's like a guarantee path to victory. But like, I think if FAU can just get back to doing the basics well on offense and defense, right? Because that's been the issue. The issue has not been explosive plays. They have found ways to produce explosive plays. Even against FIU, they had explosive plays. I think it was like Jay-Sean Platt had to play down the sideline. Like Easton Messer had a ton of catches, was able to produce, right? Like they had explosive plays, but those explosive plays don't matter if you're getting to 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10 consistently, because that's not a place where this offense can live. And vice versa, doesn't matter if you're stopping them on 1st down and getting to 2nd and 10, if 2nd and 10 suddenly becomes 3rd and 2. 3rd and 3. Like the biggest key for them is on those early down plays. What can they do on both sides of the ball? Because Memphis is a team where you can't let them get to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, because that's where they want to live. You've got to get them to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. You got to force them to throw the ball. And then like once you get to 3rd and 5, right, those 3rd and medium kind of situations, you got to find a way to get to the quarterback, man. And it's not about getting sacks. Sacks are great. Pressures are more important. Pressures signify a actual consistent plan. If you're getting pressure on Brandon Lewis and forcing him to try and throw off a spot or get off of his spot, and you're giving your cornerbacks a chance to cover, man, you've got a chance to win this game. It's just like, I'm saying this, but I also am well aware that these things are not a guarantee. No. These things are incredibly difficult. It's a lot easier to sit here on Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon and go like, well, all they have to do is stop the run, and then they suddenly win the football game. Yeah, that's what Arkansas knew they had to do too, and Arkansas lost the football game. Now, they also had a fumble really late there that kind of changed the entire trajectory of the game, but still, right, like, they knew they had to stop the run. Every team that plays Memphis knows they have to stop the run. It's a little easier said than done. It's going to be easier said than done for FAU as well, but if they can find a way to not stop the run, but maybe limit the run, this is a game they can win, especially if their offense comes around, which I'm not worried about the offense. It's really the defense here that I'm a little bit more concerned about as of right now. Man, it's a tough game. It's a tough situation to be in. This is Nick.
Yeah, with this game, one thing that I'm interested to kind of see is how they balance the aggressiveness of this offense while also making adjustments, because the 1st down efficiency last time was a lot more pass-based. We saw, I don't remember the exact number, but there was a lot more pass attempts on 1st down than rush attempts, and that set them back because they were, I believe, less than 50% on those pass plays. And then when they got in a 2nd and 10, they were maybe sometimes able to rush off a couple yards or get a pass play back. But I'm interested to see if they start rushing more on 1st down, and I'm also interested to see Caden, how he does accuracy-wise, because, you mentioned the defensive for this game, and that obviously will do a lot to make this game closer. But if they're able to do their part on the defense, but the offense is still doing nothing in terms of turning it over, in terms of getting into third and longs, in terms of, when those fourth downs come up at the field, we love the aggressiveness. We love everything about the Kitley offense, that it makes it what it is, but you got to capitalize on some of those fourth downs. So you're never going to be perfect, but I believe they're in the 30% right now. And if you're in the 30% of that, I don't know the analytics behind it, but it might change the analytics behind the analytics saying to go for it and might tell you to punt for it. So got to find a way to get those higher percentages, I got to get that percentage higher on fourth downs and convert a little bit more, because if Memphis is able to start at midfield a lot, I think that'll be a big issue as well. For me in this game, though, I just want to see improvements. Obviously, victory would be a huge win for Kitley. It'd be an important stepping stone victory for FAU to show that, yeah, you know what, we're here to compete eventually. It might not happen this year, but we're here. But they can make that similar statement in that game by just looking the part, going toe-to-toe with Memphis. Memphis is getting a lot of national respect right now. They got the helmet stickers going on. They're getting AP top 25 votes. Ryan Silverfield's finally getting a little bit of respect. And so if FAU is able to keep this game competitive, and the narrative around the game is FAU had Memphis on the ropes, and they made plays down the end and won the game, that's good. That's the narrative you want to walk out of this game with. You don't want to walk out of the narrative with Memphis steamrolls FAU 41-0, Memphis looking like CFP contender, because that means FAU is looking like an AC bottom dweller. You can't have a game in this. As much as you don't want to put everything on one game, if they come out in this game and it looks anything remotely close to what FIU looked like, they will lose by 21 points. And I don't know if they'll be able to rebound and find a way to get to 6 wins if they get blown out in this game. They got to find a way to make it competitive.
The biggest issue, right, is that I was trying to think about this before we started this pod, right? Like, why is the mood so poor about this team right now? Because if you look at just the record perspective of they're 1-2, they had a chance to beat FIU. They didn't end up beating FIU. Whatever. Football is a weird sport sometimes. But then you sort of go back and remember that they played 3 games this year. So far, 2 of them again have been against FBS opponents. One who is far better than you. Another one who is probably at about the same level or like slightly below talent level to you. And they haven't looked dominant in either of those games. They haven't looked complete in either of those games, right? Like, I think it's one thing to lose to Louisville. It's another thing to lose to Louisville and just get run off the field like they kind of did. It's one thing to lose to FIU. It's another thing to have that kind of for second half against FIU, right? Like, they need a game that, like, maybe they don't win it, right? Like, I'm fine dropping to 1-3. I don't want to drop to 1-3, but I'm fine dropping to 1-3 if it means that they put together a performance where you're going, okay, they did these things well. They put together a performance where I feel confident about the rest of the year. Maybe they can steal a game against USF or Navy or whoever, right? Like, they put together some things that I'm encouraged about. Through 2 FBS games, through 2 games against competition at or above your level, I haven't seen enough of that. And that's where my concern comes into play. It's not that they're 1-2. I don't care about the record. The record figures itself out. You'll hear me say this throughout the year. I'm more process over results. I don't care that you lose a game. I care how you lose a game. And right now they've lost 2 games in ways that I don't think is indicative of good performances down the stretch. And so that's why I kind of feel like the pressure may be on in a general sense, because you can't drop to 1-3 in your 3 FBS.
Oh, hit the mute button.
I love the.
Oh, we lost you again.
I love the internet. Let's say I love the internet. Welcome to the podcast where we have technical difficulties. We've
been on a hot streak so far. You know what? We'll allow it.
But like I don't want to be in a situation where next week we're talking about a team that's played 3 FBS games and they haven't looked particularly good in any of them, right? Like, I don't need you to go out there and win the game. I don't need you to go out there and beat Memphis by 25, 30 points. I realize those things are difficult. What I want you to do is go out there and show me that the process, that the things that you've put on, the show me, don't tell me thing, it's now time for you to show me, because you've told me how this is going to be different. Now I need to see how it's going to be different. And right now, like, not to be the negative Nancy, because I don't want to be the negative Nancy, I haven't seen enough of that different process. And I'm sure it comes with time. Like, this is still Zach Hitley's first season. This is still the first season of this build, but I need to see better performances. The expectation that everyone had was a bowl game this year, and you can't keep digging yourself a hole that's going to be more difficult to come out of. You've already dug yourself a hole. Now you got to win 5 of the last. Math is too difficult. I'm not going to do that now. But like, you have to find a way now to put together consistent performances. This schedule doesn't get any easier. You got to just go out there and put together a performance where we're on this pod, and whether people want to call it moral victories or whatever, let me find something that I can be like, okay, if they keep doing this well, they can win games. They can steal games against better AAC opponents, because right now it feels like everything that I want to say they can do to steal games against AAC opponents have not been put on film consistently. And that's the biggest issue right now.
Yep. If they can, you know what? Let's see them do well in the run game. Let's see them not shoot themselves in the foot offensively. Let's see the defense. You know, if they're able to stop that run, let's see them force Lewis make a couple mistakes and maybe get that first interception of the year. Let's see this team do some exciting things on the defensive side of the ball. You know, whether that's stopping Sutton Smith in the backfield for a loss at 3, get the crowd going. You know, I mean, it's not going to be, you know, Death Valley out there, but it's a Saturday night, 7 p.m. They're doing, you know, they're going to find a way to drum things up, get a good crowd out there and get them active and get things going, get the fans engaged and make it entertaining. Find a reason to make those fans hold off on Sway and Fort Lauderdale for a little bit and make them, you know, stay there through the second half and see things interesting. Although that's a problem that every school faces. Dion, I saw Dion complaining about it today too. But nevertheless, I just want to see, like you said, some improvements. Let's get out of this game, whether it's with a win or a loss, with some hope for the future. No, we haven't done any predictions yet this season. We're not going to do them, you know, because I do think this may be the first game where I would have to lean towards a Memphis victory, but because we don't do that, you'll never know what I have to think. So I just want to see some improvements. And what I will say, Kitley has definitely taken notice of the fan base's general upsetness. I definitely can tell that. I think he can I think if you go in with the mindset that Kitley didn't care about that FIU loss and he just shrugged it off and this, that, and the third, after hearing his response at the press conference, calling it a devastating loss, it's definitely one that he kind of put there in the mental note, like, can't lose that game. That was bad. We shouldn't have done that. Now it's time for him to turn that mindset into positive changes that lead to hopefully a better performance here against Memphis.
The only other thing I want to say about that is, like, what do you want him to say? Do you want him to go out there and be like, this is the worst loss this program's ever had, we'll never recover from this? Like, I don't think that there's an answer that like fans were going to like after that game regardless, right? And like, I get it. You lose a game like that. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I've heard every coach speak answer under the sun for that team, right? But like, I don't know what you want a guy to say after you lose a game like that, because the answer is not, oh, this is the worst loss we've ever had. The mood sucks in here. We may never win another game. God, if he said that, I think we'd all go, oh boy, really? You're saying that after 3 weeks? I think he's supposed to say that it's a devastating loss, but we'll fight back, right? And like, now you get to see if they fought back. You got 14 days rest to play one of the best teams that you'll play all season.
Yep.
If that is not what you want as a football team, I don't know what you want, right? Like, there was no tune-up game. You got 14 days off. Now it's time to prove that those 14 days did something.
Indeed. You mentioned that stretch. They have to win 5 games in 9 total attempts, and that includes games against the Memphis Tigers, Tulane, USF, Navy in there as well. Could get a little pesky. No North Texas this year, and so no crazy shootout. But you're going to have to find a way to get the games you're supposed to, and potentially beat an opponent that on paper you're supposed to lose to. As we saw, paper doesn't mean anything. Tulsa was 10.5-point underdogs, and they went and just ended Mike Gundy's head coaching career. So anything can happen, but you're going to have to make those improvements. And you know what? I'm interested to see it. This is the first real adversity this coaching staff, this team has faced. I'm interested to see how they're able to respond and go out, because Memphis, they've been down this road now a couple of years. They've had good teams and they've had some stinker losses, which has prevented those good teams from really capitalizing on that full potential. I've heard, I was in Memphis. I was a guest in their space last night and I was listening, and they've been in these situations before, and where they look like, oh yeah, we're having a good year. And then they go on the road and all of a sudden they get smacked in the face against a team that they weren't expecting. Apparently that's something Ryan Silverfield has done multiple times before. So anything can happen, but if FAU plays how they did against FIU, there is no chance. So adjustments have to be made. We shall see if those adjustments are made. Saturday, 7 p.m. at the Flagler Credit Union Stadium, the new home, the new name, as needs a prime time win. We'll see if they can get it. Kevin, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Just win, baby.
You heard him. You heard K5. For Kevin, I'm Robbie Lastella. We shall see you next week, hopefully, with a victory. Whether maybe we'll just be happy. Whatever mood we see you in next week, regardless, we'll be here. Kevin Fielder, I'm Robbie Lastella. Peace out.